Hey everybody, this is the Canned Peaches Project. My name is Teresa, and today we're going to be making a pear rhubarb pie. It kind of sounded like a reporter when I said that, didn't I? Teresa Rickloff, on the field, reporting to you, a pear rhubarb pie. I wanted to make a video that didn't use my KitchenAid mixer because I realized I was really kind of getting caught in a rut where if you don't own a KitchenAid mixer, it kind of sucks to make this recipe. I've learned that with a box grater, like the kind you can pick up from the grocery store for about $8, you can make a really delicious flaky pastry, and that's what I wanted to show you guys today. I'm filming this on March 14th, which is Pie Day, the most mathematically correct day to eat pie. But it's a weird time to make pie because you're really in between seasons. It's starting to not be winter, but it really doesn't look like spring yet. So you'll start to see, at least, out here in Oregon and a lot of places in North America, you'll start to see some rhubarb appear in the grocery stores, but there's not really enough to really make a whole day of it. But you'll still be able to find pears and apples as they hang on in dry storage from the winter. And I've realized that pear and rhubarb together make a pretty magical pie. So that's what we'll be making today. I started making pie after my grandma Rickloff died because I really missed her. She was the pie maker in our family, and I missed her and I missed the pie, and every time I make a pie I'm able to think of her a little bit. So it's been pretty important to me to make pie regularly in my life, and I'm excited to be able to share that legacy with you guys. I originally taught myself how to make pie, and then I've learned at culinary school how to make pie, and then I've learned from nearly every pastry chef I've worked for how to make pie. And what I've learned is there's a lot of really great ways to make pie, and there's a lot of really easy ways to screw up your pie. Something I don't think enough videos and enough recipe books take time to explain about pie crust is how important the hydration process is. I read a lot about how important it is to cut in the fat and to keep your dough cold and to keep your fat cold, and all that is very important. But people don't talk about how easy it is to overhydrate or underhydrate your dough. I feel like they zoom past it like everyone's gonna understand it, and really it's actually pretty tricky. How you wrap up your dough is also really important, how you store your dough. So I'm gonna spend a little time showing you guys what that looks like, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you. If you want a written recipe, the recipe for my pie crust is up on the Canned Peaches Project website, and then the recipe for this particular pie with the filling will be up on the website as well. So let us begin the pie party. Step one for pie crust is to stash your water in the freezer so it's ready to go when you're ready to go. This is 6 ounces. You might need a little bit more or less depending on how things are looking, but this is a good amount to start with. So let's pop it in the freezer. Okay, for making the crust, this is 18 ounces of all-purpose flour. Here's 2 teaspoons of sugar, which you can leave out. I've come to like adding a little sugar to my crust. Here's a half teaspoon of salt. Don't leave that out. Donk. And just mix it up with your hands. Now for the fun part, we're gonna grate in all of our butter. This is the way to make pie crust if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer or if you don't have any other equipment. As long as you have a box grater, which most people do have, you can make it. So we're starting with 12 ounces of butter. If you noticed my butter henge over there. We're gonna just start grating in butter. The only thing you really need to know about grating in butter to pie crust is start with cold butter, and then once you start to get a bunch of butter into your grater, pull the grater up and mix the butter in. So you might have just seen me do it. I'm about to do it again. This is to avoid getting like a weird grated butter block. You really want these little pieces of butter dispersed in your flour. Now it's time to hydrate the dough, which I think far and away is the trickiest part of making pie crust. And it's the kind of thing that you really just have to do over and over and over again, and also watching other people make it helps. Here's our water from the freezer. I threw an ice cube in there just now because I wanted it to be just a touch colder. We're just gonna start going probably about tablespoon by tablespoon, adding a little bit of water to it. If you're skeeved out about using your hands for this, you can use a wooden spoon or a Danish style whisk, but honestly, I think it's good to kind of get used to what it feels like. So if you're new to making pie crust, get in there with your fingers. What you're looking for is for the dough to just come together. You don't want wet pastry, but you also don't want it so dry and crumbly that it doesn't have a singularity. I'm gonna get just about 1 teaspoon more water, and I think that's gonna do it. Cool. Now, something really important to keep in mind when you're making pie crust is you need to let it rest in the fridge for like at least an hour. And during that time, the flour is gonna hydrate with all that water you put in there. So when you put it in the fridge, it's gonna be drier than when it comes out. So if it still seems a little dry to you, it's probably all right. All right, so this looks good to me. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. So you can still see, it's still kind of crumbly. There's still some at the bottom of the bowl, but I can bring it together and it like just about stays together. And I'm gonna use plastic wrap to kind of bind it together. We're gonna flatten it out and that'll help seal it together. Now we're gonna wrap up the dough, and how you wrap up your dough is gonna really help you out later. And I don't think people spend enough time talking about this. So this is what I like to do. Set out your pieces of plastic that you're gonna use to wrap up your dough first. We're making 2 different discs. And then I'm gonna just eyeball it. My one disc is gonna be slightly larger than my other one. Make sure you get the dry stuff from the bottom. Then you can use your plastic to help make your dough stay in place, like all this dry stuff. I'm just gonna let my plastic help me make that into a mass. This one's slightly more crumbly one, so you'll see, just use the plastic. Smush it out. Then get your rolling pin and just kind of give it a push. It escaped the plastic there, that's okay, we're gonna rewrap it. Same for this guy. And then that helps bring all the dry bits together so that you don't have to rely on overhydrating your dough to make it all together. Yeah, and if your dough pops out of your plastic while you're doing that, just rip off another piece. All right, there we go. We're gonna pop this into the fridge for about at least 2 to 3 hours. That'll probably be ideal. The trick to making a good fruit filling is to macerate the fruit for a few hours. So I put together my fruit filling immediately after putting my crust in the fridge. All right, here we go. We're gonna put our sugar, and I like to use white sugar and brown sugar for these fruits. We're gonna put in our cornstarch. I add my cornstarch to my sugar so that the starch evenly disperses throughout everything and you don't get like big clumps of starch in your mix. I'm also gonna add like a derp's worth of cinnamon to this because that sounds kind of nice. There you go, it's like a derp's worth. And then mix it together. Then just stir your fruit on up into your sugar and starch mix, and then let it sit until you're ready to assemble your pie. This will start getting all juicy, and that's exactly what you want. All right, it's time to roll out that dough. I like to do it on wax paper in my kitchen because I have these weird divots in my countertop. So I do it on top of that. You can do it really on top of any surface. Wood is nice, marble is nice, but wax paper works well for me. Roll out your bottom crust to about 1/8 of an inch. A little thinner won't hurt. And then I roll it up on my rolling pin and I slap it on over the pie plate. You can cut out a circle beforehand. Some people prefer to do it that way. I like to do it kind of rough and tumble and slap it on the pie plate. I trim so that there's at least 1 inch overhang. And then what I'm doing here is folding it over, and we're gonna keep it kind of rough like that until we do the lattice. So when you roll it for your lattice, you wanna do it a little thinner than you do your bottom crust. This is about 1/16 of an inch. This is my scrap. I kind of slap it all together, put it on wax paper. Try not to add too much flour, otherwise your scrap pieces, they're gonna be kind of tough. I'm using my scrap here for all these adorable little flower cutouts. All right, so now, time to bring it all together. Put your fruit in, get your lattice pieces. We're gonna be doing just a real basic weave.
So I just put every other piece up and then put another strip of lattice underneath them. And that's a basic basket weave. Now I get my knife back out, and then this is where we're gonna crimp the sides so that they look pretty. I like to wait until my lattice is on because then I can crimp my lattice ends into the side pieces. Once they're all trimmed, I go around with my thumb and my fingers, and I make it look all pointy and cute. Whoa, there we go, pointy and cute. I'm attaching these little flowers with water. I gave far too much thought about where each of them should go. Now, once your pie is assembled, put it in the fridge and really let it chill for at least a couple hours. I rushed this one a little bit. I put some egg glaze on there and then I put it in the oven.
All right, it's nighttime now, but now we're ready to eat pie finally. Pear and rhubarb pie. Let's see how it turns out. Oh, it's delicious! Rhubarb pie, just straight up rhubarb pie, is my favorite pie in the whole world. I love putting rhubarb with like kind of any other fruit because it's still my favorite. I've never done this combination before till now. It's good. Okay, happy pie day. Thanks so much for watching me make pie, guys. Feel free to pop on with any questions and check out the links below to get the written recipe for the crust and also for the pie. Please subscribe to my channel, give it a like if you liked it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. If there's anything confusing or you just want to chat about pie, that's what I like doing. So, thanks again, guys. Bye-bye.